there, welcome to today's video. My name's Marie. If you've just clicked on my video, I'm British, but I do live in the USA and I have done for nearly 28 years. So I thought it'd be fun to do a question and answer specific to being an expat living in America. Now, today's video is in collaboration with Tina from Tina's Talk Time and Maria from Maria Crocker. So let me introduce you to Tina and Maria. I've asked ChatGPT to ask me some questions and yeah, she's come up with some good ones. I call her she, I don't know why. Anyway, let's jump into the first one. Do you feel more British or more American or a mix? I feel British, which when I tell folks that I've lived here for 28 years, they're really surprised that my accent is still so thick. But yeah, I've not lost my accent, or to some degree I think I might have, because when I first moved here, everyone would say, oh my gosh, I love your accent, but I don't get that quite as much. So I think I have lost my accent a little bit. But yeah, no, I'm very much British. I still watch British YouTubers. I eat British food. I still celebrate Christmas in the British way. So this question is, do you drive in the USA? Yes, I do. How was learning left and right difference and the car culture? Well, I actually didn't find it that difficult, because if you think about it, it would be more difficult if the steering wheel was still on the British side, but you drove on the opposite side of the road. But because the steering wheel is on the opposite side of the car and you drive on the opposite side of the car, it doesn't feel that different. You would think that your brain would kind of mix things up. The only time that I get a little bit flummoxed, or used to get flummoxed, was when I got to a T-junction and there was no cars on the road. So I couldn't gauge what the other cars were doing. I would pull out and have to think, okay, am I pulling out on this side or am I pulling out all the way to that side? Using the gear stick, right now I drive an automatic, but when I used to drive the gear stick, that was just as easy to use the right hand as it was using the left hand. And a lot of my co-workers and friends would say, gosh, that's got to be so difficult using the gear stick doing this. But no, it really wasn't. Okay, how do you find the healthcare in America? Well, to me, that was one of the biggest adjustments. I could not get my head wrapped around the fact that when you go to the doctor's office, you have to fill out pages of paperwork. I couldn't get my head wrapped around it. And then there was a copay, there was one doctor's that I used to have to go to for endocrinology. Every time I went to see him, I would have to pay, I think it was like $26, but I literally would have to hand over my debit card to the receptionist and she would swipe it and $26 would come out of my account. And I just thought that was the strangest, weirdest thing. Coming from England, that comes straight out of our paycheck. I can't even remember how much it used to be. Our taxes are high in England, but you can go to the doctor every day if you want and not pay. I had a bill one time sent to me by mistake. I shouldn't have been billed, but it was for one blood test, for a thyroid blood test. And it tests for, oh my gosh, it's a big blood test. It tests for like 20 different things, I think. And we're talking 26 years ago. That bill for one blood test was over $800. I nearly died. I opened that up and my husband said, no, we don't have to pay that. They've billed it by mistake. The health insurance needs to pay it. And we only had to pay, I think it was like, again, $26. But yeah, that was just unbelievable. The fact that you have to fill out all your information, your social security numbers. In England, all you have to do to get a doctor is take in a bill showing that your address is in the catchment area for that doctor. So easy, so simple. And when you go for a second or third visit, you generally just have to say your name. You don't have to show anything to prove who you are. So that was a huge adjustment. Do you miss any specific foods or brands? Now, when I first moved here, yes, I missed everything. But as the years have progressed, my taste buds have changed. Actually, it was quite funny. Not too long ago, I'm on a British thread on Facebook where we chat back and forth. They're all my friends in Las Vegas. and they were saying, oh, in Costco, they've got baked beans, 6 cans for, I think it was maybe $8, which is really, really cheap. I went and bought some, but you know what? They don't taste the same. I remember them as being really, really tomato flavored, and I actually now prefer the American pork and beans. So yeah, that's definitely changed. I do miss, and this is something I said recently in an Easter video that I just did, I miss Easter eggs. So you get a box about this big, and you have one big Easter egg that is wrapped in foil, and then you crack it open and you'll find some sort of something inside the egg. So if it was M&M themed, when you cracked it open, you'd find M&Ms inside. And that's something that I'm really surprised that the American food industry hasn't caught on, because I know the Americans would love it, absolutely love it. But I did just see them in the English grocery store here in Dallas. They're just too expensive. I'm not going to spend $25 on an Easter egg. And I've got something funny to tell you. So when we were in the English grocery store, my husband loves chicken and mushroom pies. So he bought 2 little ones like this. And I think he said he paid $13 each. When we got home and we looked on the back of them, they're only bleeding made in Dallas. So how are they so expensive? It's not like you're paying an import duty on them. So yeah, he felt a bit jilted on that one. Okay, what city and state do you live in, and how long have you been in the USA? So we moved to Las Vegas on the 1st of May, 1998. And then we left and moved to Dallas, and we arrived 2 days before Thanksgiving 2025. So yeah, quite a long time. I've actually lived more of my adult life in America than I have in England. So I left England when I was 28. How often do you visit the UK now? Well, if I was to average it out over the entire time of living here, it's usually on average around every 4 years I fly back, and I only go back for 2 weeks. It's too expensive. Do you plan to return to live in the UK someday? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm really glad that we moved from Vegas to Dallas, because Dallas does give me more of a UK vibe, with all the grass and the trees and the humidity, the scenery, definitely a slower pace of life. So it's more online with the English living, because I did actually move from the Cotswolds, which is, you know, country. Would I move back if it was to the countryside or the coast? Yeah, I think I would. What American words or phrases irritated you at first but now use? I never liked the word garage. Oh, I hated that word. I actually say it now. Trash can is another one. Now that one is not that I prefer trash can. I worked in an office for over 10 years, and that was a word that we would say often. Oh, throw it in the trash can, throw that in the trash can. And because all my co-workers said it, I just started saying it. And if I said, oh, rubbish bin, they would like look at me like. So I just started saying trash can. But one word I don't like, I never will like, and I never will say, and that is the American way they pronounce tomatoes. Don't like it, won't say it. Really don't like potatoes. It's potato. What was the biggest culture shock on arrival? When we moved to America, we actually moved to, we flew to Cincinnati because I had to fly into a major hub to do my visa paperwork. And we visited some of my husband's relations there. And then we bought a car or a minivan and we drove cross country. And none of that, I don't think, really shocked me until we arrived in Vegas. And I just could not wrap my head around the fact that there were billboards everywhere. It was neon lights and billboards, and the billboards were really quite graphic when it came to the strip clubs. That was a real shocker. I mean, if you can imagine driving through the idyllic Cotswold countryside with flowers and trees and tiny little lanes and sheep in the farm and thatched cottages, to suddenly just driving down this freeway at what felt like 1,000,000 miles an hour with cars, whoosh, 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 and just these billboards were just in my face. That was a shocker, and I immediately thought, what have I done? what have I done? And there was a panic that sat in, and I just thought, oh no, this isn't going to work. No, I'm not going to like it. And I didn't, but I lived with it, and I gave myself time to get used to it, because it wouldn't have been fair to myself. That was a huge shock. Do people often comment on your accent? Well, like I said earlier, it used to be all the time. It's not so much now. However, I just started back to work, and a lot of my co-workers are coming up to me and asking me, where are you from? Are you from Australia? Are you from, where was the other one? Are you from South Africa? So yeah, I do get that. I don't think I've ever had a negative comment like, oh, I don't like your accent, or It's always been, oh, I love your accent. Just keep talking. I could listen to you all day. But of course, I don't hear my own accent. I only hear everyone else's. Do you celebrate UK bank holidays or US holidays? Well, it would be US holidays because I live here, and those are the days you get off from work. And the only one, if I had to say, would be Boxing Day. Usually, if I'm able to take that day off from work. Christmas Day is always closed. Usually the stores are always closed, but Boxing Day, they open straight back up. If you work in an office, you go back to work on Boxing Day. It's just a regular old normal day, but I will take Boxing Day off. Also Easter. Easter in England, you have a 4-day holiday. So you have the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Here it's just the Sunday, and Monday and Friday is just regular old work days. Oh, I'll tell you something that I think is strange in America. And that is, on Christmas Day, they do a football match, or, American football. And I just think that's so odd. I feel it should be like in England, like they'll put on a big movie, like it'll be a James Bond movie. It'll be a movie that the whole family can sit down. The kids can play with their toys, but everyone's finished eating. You sit down, you have a drink, and you all sit around the TV and watch a movie. But in America, it's football. And my husband has to have that on. And it drives me nuts. Oh, have you ever experienced stereotypes or jokes about being British? How do you handle them? All the time. It's Harry Potter usually. Do I love Harry Potter? Do I know the Queen? Have I met the Queen? No, I haven't. I did perform once in front of Princess Anne when I was a kid doing a ballet show. That's about the closest. Oh, I did see Princess Diana once. I was on a double-decker bus in London, and we were on the side of Buckingham Palace, and I looked down and she was driving. She had a bodyguard next to her, and I was like, oh my gosh. Oh, people usually assume I live in London. No, I lived in the countryside, but quite often it'd be more of someone imitating a British accent. Like when I used to go into work, some of my co-workers would say, hello, mate, I would say, we don't usually generally go around saying hello to people by, hello, mate. But I just laugh. I think it's funny. I think it's cute. It's better to have fun being poked at about being British. I find that more of a positive thing versus someone said, oh, don't like her, she's British, don't like the Brits, So I just take it lightheartedly. What do you miss most about the UK? Oh, what do I miss most? It would be the countryside. Being able to drive around and go to the city, go to the beach, go to the castles, like the ancient history. I used to live, I think it was about 45 minutes away from Stonehenge. Never appreciated it the whole time I was there. I used to go to college, and I used to be on a bus and drive right past this beautiful castle. Don't even know the name of the castle. Didn't appreciate it. How do you follow the UK news and culture from the US? I go to YouTube, I watch BBC news on YouTube. I also have my Google in the morning, my little Google speaker, and I listen to BBC Radio 2. And then on a Saturday morning, I listen to BBC Radio 1. What practical advice would you give to a Brit moving to the US? Do your homework. I mean, it's that simple. Just do your homework and really see where it is you want to live. Like Las Vegas, it's a great vacation spot, I think, but do you really want to live there and be stuck in the middle of a desert? And if you want to go to a day trip to anywhere else, you're still going to be stuck in that desert. I've said this many times on my videos. You really have to like the desert if you want to live in Vegas, because you're surrounded by miles and miles and miles of it. Oh, this is a good question. If you could change one thing about your life as a Brit in the US, what would it be? If I could change not being scared to fly, I probably would visit England more often than once every 4 years. I'd probably go back once a year. I have friends that go back once a year, and sometimes they go back twice a year. If there was a train to England, if there was a big bridge, if we could go up to maybe Greenland, Canada, Greenland, down through Sweden, Norway to England, Scotland, I would definitely get on a train. That would actually be fantastic, wouldn't it? I love trains. You know, maybe in the future, maybe we can teleport places. This is something that I didn't know when I moved here. Each state has its own laws. For instance, here in Texas, you don't have to wear a crash helmet if you're riding a motorbike. In Nevada, it's law, you have to. In Nevada, it's against the law to ride your motorbike down the center lane. So if two cars are in a lane, sitting in freeway morning traffic, a motorcycle cannot drive down the center, but in California you can. So that did surprise me that each state has its own laws, its own traffic laws as well, and also it has its own sales tax. So in Nevada, I think it was at 8.5. So if I was to go buy this plant and it was on the shelf for $5, when I go to check out, they're going to charge me $5.80, if that's 8.5%. But yeah, that blew my mind. The fact that what you see isn't the price you're going to pay. And then if you go to somewhere like Wisconsin, it might be 11% tax. I don't know what it is in Wisconsin. It was just a number I threw out there. But here, I think it's 6 something state tax. Anyway, I've come to the end of the questions. I hope you enjoyed it. It gave you a little bit of insight of what it might feel like to be British living in America. If you're American and you live in England, let me know. Now, please go over to Tina and Maria's videos and see what their questions and answers are. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you on Monday, where I'll bring you my weekly vlog. Bye from now. Bye.